Cale Case, Wyoming Senate, and I'm from Lander. I want to talk to you today about utility and telecommunications issues. It's a subject that's requires our vigilance, and it's kind of brought into focus right now because the Wyoming Telecommunications Act is actually going to sunset or come off the books next July, not this July, but July 1st, 2015. That's going to mean some changes in the telecommunications industry unless we extend the sunset or come up with a replacement law for it. And opinions are pretty well divided on it. Right now, the most important thing that's kind of at play is whether we're going to continue to subsidize rural telecommunications service. Right now, there's a thing called the Wyoming Universal Service Fund, and that's a fund that collects money from everybody's telecommunication services in Wyoming and uses those funds to subsidize high-cost areas. Traditionally, that was old-fashioned landline telephone service. Of course, that was before the days, really the thinking of how people have cellular phones now, and they have other ways of getting their internet service and their telephone service. But it's an old subsidy system, and people are talking about extending that, maybe taking that same subsidy system and making it multiple times bigger. So instead of being a few pennies on your bill, it'd be a few dollars on your bill to subsidize service in other areas. You should be concerned about this. You should voice your opinions and decide whether you think it's a good idea for you to be taxed to pay for the service of other people. Another area is electric utility rates. Wyoming's kind of complicated because we can't build any more coal plants, and the new sources of electric generation are more expensive than the ones we have. So this means that as power demands grow, it gets more expensive. It also gets more expensive because we share our electric company, Rocky Mountain Power, with several states. And in those states, they have different policies about where their power should come from. A lot of them would like to see a lot more renewable power. Some of that renewable power will be generated in Wyoming, but to get that power from Wyoming to those other states where those users are, they have to upgrade the transmission lines. Here's the rub. They don't pay for upgrading the transmission lines all by themselves. We are tapped to help pay that as well. And Wyoming customers pay 16, 17, 18% of the cost of upgrading those facilities to take power from Wyoming that we don't use to take it somewhere else. That's a problem and something you should be concerned about. Here's another one. Data centers. We recruit data centers as an economic development improvement in Wyoming. And it sounds great. It's a high-tech industry. They don't necessarily employ a lot of people, but they have a large capital investment, and they use a lot of electricity, an amazing amount of electricity. But as these data centers use more electricity, remember, we don't have cheap power. We have to replace it with more expensive forms of generation. The problem is that drives up the cost for everybody. All of us in Wyoming pay extra higher rates to subsidize the data centers that the state recruits. That's something to think about as well. Is that really a good policy? This Cale Case. Tell me what you think.